Next award is for career achievement, and Terry Truweiler is going to present this award as well. Yeah. We're getting some competition from the next room, so Jan told me to speak into the mic, which I'll try to do. The Montana trial lawyers have throughout the years recognized a number of outstanding lawyers through the Career Achievement Award, and this year's honoree is no exception. This year's Career Achievement Award goes to Peter Michael Meloy from Helena, Montana. Mike has had the kind of career that I think all young lawyers should aspire to, at least those with good values, high ideals, and a love for people and the planet on which they live. And that's how I would most characterize Mike's career. Not because of his great intellect, which he has, or his creativity, which he's demonstrated over and over, or his sense of humor, which has facilitated his effectiveness so much in court, but for his love of people and the planet and the way he has implemented those values through his practice. Now, some of you are probably asking, who the hell is Peter Michael Meloy? Because you only know him as Michael Meloy, and there's a story there. Mike's father, who was a district judge, a well-respected district judge in Helena for about 10 years, was also named Peter Meloy. And I think at family gatherings, what I'm told is they tried to figure out a way to keep the two people separate, who both had the same name, and so they started referring to Judge Meloy as Big Peter. And you can see where this is going, but anyway, being the astute young man that we're honoring tonight, Mike decided at an earlier age that thank you, but I'll just go with plain Michael. So it's Michael, just plain Michael Meloy, that we're honoring tonight. Mike was admitted to the practice of law in 1971. Within a short time after he was admitted, he became the Director of Legal Services for the Montana Legislative Council, where he authored or co-authored some of our most significant state laws, including the Major Facility Siting Act and the Strip Mine Reclamation Act. In 1975, he was elected to the legislature himself, and soon after his election, was named the Majority Whip for the House of Representatives. In 1977, he was re-elected to the legislature and probably made the Majority Leader in the House of Representatives. And during his term in the legislature, he again sponsored or wrote or co-wrote or ushered through some of the most significant statutory law that we've ever enacted in this state. Mike sponsored the comparative negligence law. And those of you who haven't practiced as long as I have may not be aware of how harsh it was practicing under pure contributory negligence. Severely injured people could be completely barred from recovery, no matter how trivial their contributory fault. Mike changed that by passing our current comparative negligence law. He passed legislation that strengthened and implemented the provisions of the enlightened 1972 Constitution. He passed a lot of legislation that implemented especially Article 2, Section 9, which provides for open government, open meetings of government, and access to government records. He was instrumental in passage of the Coal Trust Fund, the Water Use Act, the Endangered Species Act, the Air Quality Act, the Subdivision Act, and the Home Weatherization. This is within the first 6 years that he practiced law. He was responsible for more significant state law than most lawyers contribute to during the entire course of their career. But he didn't rest on his early accomplishments. He entered the private practice of law His practice focused on complex medical and pharmaceutical torts, labor and employment law, media and public access law, environmental and consumer protection, and free speech. Mike has tried probably 100 cases in state and federal administrative agencies and state and federal trial courts throughout the state of Montana. He's appeared in 65 Supreme Court cases. He's personally argued before the court 15 times, and you know how significant the case has to be to get an oral argument before the Supreme Court. He has spent countless hours doing pro bono work for the Trial Lawyers Association, for the Democratic Party, and for various conservation groups around the state. I'll give you just a few examples of how the cases that Mike has handled in his practice have affected all of our lives. We talked before a little bit, and I was introducing Justice Nelson about Reichert versus State. Mike, along with Larry Anderson, handled that case. The case in which the legislature, by referendum, blatantly tried to shape the politics of the Supreme Court by creating judicial districts from which judges had to be elected and residency requirements, which all of our current members couldn't have met. He handled Montanans versus State in 2006, where he successfully challenged on constitutional grounds an initiative which would have severely hampered the ability to fund state services and which would have enabled people to remove unpopular judges. He handled Montana Trout Unlimited versus DNRC, in which he successfully advocated interpretation of the basin closure law to better protect the surface flow of the upper Missouri River basin and ultimately the Smith River. Labor of love for Mike. He handled Big Spring versus Jor, in which he represented Janine Windham in an election challenge out of Lake County. And his successful litigation of that case enabled the Democrats to maintain control of the House of Representatives in 2005. He's argued 11 different cases before the Montana Supreme Court, which literally define the area of constitutional law under Article 2, Section 9, which gives us a right to open government. And in Sleeve versus Westmont, he successfully argued on behalf of Montana victims that the Federal Insecticide, Fungicide, and Rodenticide Act did not preempt our state law theories of liability, including the plaintiff's failure to warn claims. A significant victory for consumers in Montana and the victims of injury by toxic torts. And these are just a few examples of the significant policy that he's made through his advocacy. Of the 65 court appearances that he's made in the Supreme Court, I could probably cite 60 similar cases. He's been a member of the Trial Lawyers for 36 years. He served as its president in 2002. His excellence has been recognized by invitations to the International Society of Barristers and the American Board of Trial Advocates. He has the highest rating given for legal ability and adherence to ethical standards by Martindale Hubbell. He's listed in the Best Lawyers of America. He's listed in Mountain State Super Lawyers Directory. He's received the Montana Free Press Award from the University of Montana School of Journalism and Law in 2003, the MTLA Appellate Advocacy Award in 2004, the MTLA Public Service Award in 2007, and the MTLA Citizens Award in 2012. In his spare time, he runs the Freedom of Information Hotline, which provides information to the public about how to access government meetings and government records. And he's the head coach of the Helen High girls soccer team. I'd like to, before I conclude, thank his spouse, Jan Van Riper, for coming back to Montana from Washington, D.C. for tonight's event where she's serving as the Chief Executive Officer and Executive Director of the National Alliance of State Healthcare Plans, which is an integral part of the Obama National Healthcare Policy. So Jan, welcome back. I think that a Career Achievement Award from an organization like the Trial Lawyers ought to go to someone who represents a career of making the world a better place. And based on that standard, I can't think of a better person to receive the Career Achievement Award than Peter Meloy. He's a great lawyer, great human being, and a great friend. So Mike, congratulations.
Hoping that wouldn't sound like a eulogy. I think there's something, I don't want to appear ungrateful, but there's just something basically wrong with my getting this award. First, it should go to an old person. and secondly, it should go to somebody whose career is at an end. And I don't plan to quit practicing law. I love doing it and will continue. And if it is the case that a young lawyer whose career is just getting going can be given this award, there are, and I know that you've heard this already, 10 or 12 more deserving people out there in the audience right now that are better deserving of this award than I am. And that's a fact. And I'm not sure how to say thank you, but thank you. You're all my friends, and so it's a special thing for me to have this. I haven't heard all of those things, those nice things having been said about me, and I got to admit I enjoyed hearing them. But a special, extraordinary privilege for me was to hear them from Carrie Truweiler, who has not only been my friend, but my mentor and my hero, our hero. And that made it extraordinary for me. And you've been sitting here for a long time, and I should just sit down and say thank you. I really, for all of you young people here, when you start practicing, you'll have to sit down and decide who you're going to be for and who you're going to be against. And that's going to be a huge decision. You need to make the right decision. And when you make it, you need to get out there and fight like hell for what you think is right. And you need to have the courage to hang in there when it looks like the whole world is coming down on the other side of you. And at the end of the day, at the end of the year, at the end of your career, your cash register might not be real full, but you can look back at what you've done and say, maybe, just maybe, I made a difference. And it just doesn't get any better than that. Thank you.